Yes, people, welcome back to another Offside Trap video. Now, today it's just me and Doc. Doc, how you doing?
Good afternoon. How are we? How is everyone? Hope everyone's well.
As you can see from the title of the video and the thumbnail, we are going to be discussing Kobbie Mainoo being called up to England. Another youngster. Doc, I'm going to hit you with the first question that I'm interested to know about. Do you think he deserves the call up?
100%. I think that my biggest issue isn't the fact he's been called up. My biggest issue is the fact that he wasn't called up on merit as opposed to being called up now due to a few injuries. I just think it's absolutely ludicrous that we've got what I class as pointless friendlies and we've got a player of this young lad's quality and he's not getting a chance to shine. So, like, for me personally, I think he should be not only in the England setup now, I think he should be a definite for the Euros as well. We don't have much cover in his position. I think he warrants it. I think he deserves it. I am a bit cautious with regards to youngsters where we put too much hype on a youngster and too much pressure on a youngster. But I think there's a big difference between a youngster that just breaks through and has a couple of games and then the press and the media put the hype on him as opposed to the situation that we've got now. We've got a young lad literally dominating the midfield at Manchester United, you know, in big games, in Champions League games. And that's the pressure that comes with it. And he's sailed through it. So now he's sailed through that pressure stage. I don't see why we don't reward that quality as opposed to, just... I'm not keen on like what we've done with Walcott, where we take a kid just for experience. And I'm not suggesting that that's what you take Mainoo for. I'm suggesting you take Mainoo in case something happens to Rice, and we've got a perfect player there that can come in and do a job. Yes, I appreciate it could be classed as a risk, but like I said, I think the risk itself has already been taken by Manchester United. If he would have had a few bad Champions League games, then maybe Mainoo wouldn't be spoken about. But at the end of the day, the pressure bit is off of him now. He's playing week in, week out. He's earned it in his own right. He's earned his new contract at Manchester United. So now I think we need to be talking about him as the class player that he looks, as opposed to a youngster and the pressure of a youngster.
Yeah. I think with Kobbie Mainoo, I think he has excelled in the position that he has had at Manchester United. I think he's been a blessing in disguise for Ten Hag. I think that they needed a level of quality in that midfield. Casemiro's looking a bit tired and a bit lazy at times. And you've got Scott McTominay. United fans don't want him. You're looking at Bruno. He's slightly more attacking. Mason Mount's been injured. Eriksen's getting on a bit now. They're a bit lackluster in that midfield. So to have Kobbie Mainoo come through and perform at the level he has done, I do want to quickly touch upon what you mentioned there with the hype. Do you think the hype with young players nowadays, and we've seen it with Kobbie Mainoo, do you think that it's too overhyped? Do you think that we expect it turns from being surprised to then expecting Kobbie Mainoo at 18 to keep performing at this level for the rest of his career? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think that there is a cut-off point which then leads into expectation rather than just them doing their thing?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think that it's all to do with how they're being managed. And I think, like, with regards to Foden and the praise that Pep had with Foden, where everyone knew what a talented footballer he had on his hands. Everyone knew what he was doing for the under-21s. And everyone suspected he was going to be the player that he is now. But yet Pep has done it by gradually integrating him into the team and giving him a taste, keeping him around the squad. He hasn't loaned him out or anything else. And he's basically reaping the rewards now. Now, with Mainoo, I think it's slightly different. I think with Mainoo, Man United are crying out for players that care about the club. This is a youngster that is obviously a Manchester boy. He's come through the academy. He knows what it takes to play for Manchester United. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he's putting in the shift that a lot of these other big players with big money contracts aren't doing. And I think that's why that this guy is the real deal. And yes, I am concerned that could we have a different conversation in 4 or 5 years? Could we have another Rashford situation if he gets these massive contracts? Absolutely. absolutely. But one thing's got nothing to do with the other. His future at Manchester United is in the hands of the owners and the management, and him being managed well. His future at England should be based on his performances for Manchester United. And for me, not only is his performances for Manchester United warranting being called into the England squad, who else have we got that deserves that England call up on merit and on performances over him? And for me, the answer is no one.
Yeah. If we're looking at that midfield position then for Kobbie Mainoo being called up for England,
Yeah.
with midfielders, I'm going to lift off some midfielders quickly for England, and you're going to tell me whether you would have Mainoo ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
So Ward-Prowse.
I'd take him ahead of Ward-Prowse.
Calvin Phillips.
I'd take him ahead of Calvin Phillips.
Henderson.
I'd definitely take him ahead of Henderson.
Is there anyone else I'm missing in that sort of either 8 or 6 position for England? You've got... Go on.
I think there's probably people that, you know, potentially you could mention, but this is what my point is that position in its own right. We are very, very, you know, scraping the barrel after the main man of Rice. You know, you're talking about a Phillips that hasn't played for a lot of football and ultimately was getting call-ups, which I don't agree with. We're now talking about Calvin Phillips that's gone to West Ham, who's playing, and the West Ham fans aren't happy with him and he's not performing. So what is he doing to warrant an England cap? Now, I'm a little bit older than you, Bill, and I'm a little bit old school with regards to I was brought up with the cap meaning something and the cap when it was earned on merit. Whereas in your lifetime, there's been a lot of what I call charitable caps being given out on loyalty, caps being given out for people that make a nice cup of tea in the hotel. So let's take him because, you know, we won't get a nice cup of tea if he's not there. So I think it's a completely different concept. And I think Mainoo is someone, like I said, he deserves it on merit. And that to me is what he should get it on. And yes, I appreciate with age, it's a risk. But if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think you can see that in Bellingham.
Yeah, I think we are definitely talented. Well, England, I think we've probably got one of the best squads in Europe, if not the world. You know, Brazil isn't the same Brazil that we've seen over the years. Same with France. I think France is getting good, and especially I think you're looking at obviously Pogba being banned. You've got Kante who's on his last legs. That was their sort of their electrical box, if you will. That was their midfield, and they've taken that completely out. So it's more of a reliant on France. I definitely think England is the strongest candidate. I just think it's just a shame that we've had Southgate at the helm of it all.
Again, I totally agree with you. And going back to where I started the conversation of he's being called up now, the first point that I made is why wasn't he called up in the first place? We've got 2 friendlies that are pointless friendlies. We've got a friendly against Brazil that we're only playing Brazil because of obviously the sales that come with playing against the Brazil, and it brings the fans in, which is absolutely fine if you want to go down that route. But if you want to put an exhibition match on, what better time is there to give a youngster like him an opportunity to show his class and gain a bit of experience? And just imagine if he runs that game, if he bosses that game against Brazil because he's the main man starting in there, then surely that can put people's mind at rest that he can go to the Euros and boss some of them other games.
I think it's definitely an interesting one with it. It's just, it's difficult not to speak about Southgate when it comes to selections. I think he's definitely been picking his favourites. Like you said, I think the English call up now has just lost that meaning. But yeah, it's definitely a weird one. And another thing I do want to ask with the Kobbie Mainoo call up, do you think that where do you see him when it comes to level wise in the next 5 to 10 years?
In the next 5 to 10 years, I can honestly say that he's the only player that I can see keeping Rice honest in that position.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have a Mainoo performing in that position, then when Henderson finally gives in and retires and forces Southgate's hand of, look, I know that you still want to pick me, but I'm actually collecting my pension now and I'm not going to play for you. And I'm sure Southgate will still try to convince him to come out of retirement.
Yeah.
He will have no choice.
Mm.
You know, he will have no choice. Mainoo, for me, is the second best player in that position in the league. That's English, may I add? Sorry, just before everyone comes at me, we are talking about English. We're not talking about, obviously, you know, Rodri is you know, head and shoulders above the rest. Let's not be naive. But English, I struggle to see another Englishman that can keep Rice honest. And if anyone thinks that Calvin Phillips and Henderson has got it in their locker to keep him honest, then I think there's your problem right there as to why we don't win anything, because neither of them have got what Mainoo's got. Mainoo, for me, is the full package. If you watch him, he's the full package. He's got everything to his game, and he's only going to get better. And the more experience you give him, and you put him in a better team. If I'm talking about him now in that struggling Man United team so highly, just imagine what he could do in that England team.
Yeah. With the England call up now with Kobbie Mainoo, then quickly, last question before we finish this video up. What do you see his future being when it comes to Manchester United? Do you think he's going to leave like a Jude Bellingham, for instance? Do you see him going to a foreign country and trying to win more? Do you think he's going to try and keep his roots in the Premier League? What's your thoughts on where he's going to end up?
Under this new regime, I can see the team being built around him, and I can honestly see in about 4 years' time him being a young Manchester United captain, leading the forefront of the new Man United era, and things being built around him. And I think he will literally take that in his stride. I don't think it will change him in any stretch of the imagination. And I can only see him going from strength to strength to strength. And I'm very, very excited to see where he will finish. But one thing I'm confident of is that boy is going to the top.
Yeah. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think about Kobbie Mainoo being called up for England. Do you think it's a good decision? Do you think it's a bad decision? Let us know, and we'll see you in the next video. Doc, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much for having us. And yeah, thank you everyone in the comments. I look forward to hear whether you think you agree with me or if you're a Southgate fan, basically.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn notification bell so you are when we post next. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace out.